It's a Star Wars show here on My Nerd World. Welcome to it. This week, we've got a lot of interesting news to share. There was a big Obi-Wan Kenobi set leak. I'll give you details about that. The release date for the show has moved. Does this mean it's going to debut on the big screen? I'm going to give you my thoughts. Hayden Christensen talks with Entertainment Weekly about playing Vader. I'll share with you that interview. And Donald Glover on late night TV reveals that the Lando series is actually in the works. How soon could we expect to see Lando Calrissian on our television screens? Plus, listener feedback to get into as well. Thanks to everybody who wrote in over the past week at TalkShowNerd@gmail.com, or, of course, left a comment up on YouTube.
It's an instinct. A feeling.
There has been an awakening.
The Force brought us together. We're not alone. Good people will fight if we lead them.
I need someone. People keep telling me they know me. No one does.
The hyperdrive is leaking.
But I do.
Long have I waited. And now you're coming together. Is your undoing.
Confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi. Your destiny.
The Force will be with you.
Always.
My Nerd World.
I don't know about you, but I need to watch some Star Wars this weekend. And when I say I need to watch some Star Wars this weekend, like, I need to watch Star Wars hard. I don't know what yet, though. That's my problem. There's so many choices, and they're good, too. It is My Nerd World, the Star Wars show. I'm your host, Jon Justice. Thanks for checking out the show this week. I really do appreciate it. Let's not waste any time. We got a lot of news and leaks to cover.
The fight is done. We lost.
And
The hyperdrive is leaking.
there was a big set leak that happened yesterday. And apparently this is one of a few different videos of set footage that has gotten out into the public. So yesterday afternoon, MakingStarWars.net put up a live video, and then up on the Reddit leaks page, it's actually still there. The video is there as well. Most people who have seen it, including myself, tend to think that this is a legit leak, and it actually lines up with some scene descriptions from places like MakingStarWars.net. Now, Jason Ward over at MakingStarWars.net had mentioned that he'd actually seen other footage that matches with this footage that was released. It's nothing too spoilery. It basically is footage of things that have already been reported on, one being Darth Vader, the other one being Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the other being they eventually meet and they have a duel. We know this. Kathleen Kennedy said as much. So that's all the video footage is. It's about 32 some odd seconds of on-set footage. It doesn't appear to be actual camera footage. It looks like it was taken off to the side, like somebody was filming it off to the side. At least that was my take of it. And it's basically Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi facing off. I won't say anything else. There is an action that takes place in the scene, but I don't really want to get into spoilers here. And I could mention it, but they're having a force fight. They're having a lightsaber fight. You can kind of guess what may or may not happen in that. It was interesting, though. You can't tell that it's Ewan McGregor And it may be a stunt double, to be honest, because his back is turned. But Vader is there. A lot of people were pointing out that Vader's outfit matches the photo that Entertainment Weekly put out of Darth Vader from Obi-Wan Kenobi. And a lot of people have been making comparisons to the suit that they saw in the photo from Entertainment Weekly, matching more closely with his suit from Empire Strikes Back. I think the takeaway here is that, Vader's got different suits and different belts that light up different ways. It was one of my criticisms doing that thing with my fingers for Rogue One, even though it wasn't a very big criticism. But I wished that they had matched Vader's helmet better in the end of Rogue One to the helmet that we see in A New Hope. If you pay close attention to the helmet that we see in New Hope, it's actually really rough. Vader's helmet in that opening scene, when the rebel ship is taken on board the Death Star, it's not even like symmetrical. You can tell that it was very much handcrafted, and it's got a little bit more of a matte finish to it, and it's a little worn. Next time you watch Star Wars: A New Hope, look closely. It's very different from what you see in the other films. And it's also very different from what you see at the end of Rogue One. The Rogue One Vader helmet is a little too polished and clean than what it looked like. And it's only shown on screen vividly in that final... well, no, I take that back. It actually is shown up close when Krennic goes to Mustafar. And I think that's probably where it's most notable. So next time you watch Rogue One, take a close look at Vader's helmet, especially the up-close shots. And then put on A New Hope and take a look. It looks very... The one in Rogue One looks brand new. The one in A New Hope looks really weathered. How did I get there? Well, I was just talking about the fact that maybe Vader changed his helmet. That's the canon that I have. The canon I have is that Vader put on a different helmet before he went and saw Princess Leia after he captured the blockade runner. That's what I am going with. Anyways, it was an interesting set leak. Apparently, again, like I said, there's more footage floating out there. I just hope that the person doesn't work for Lucasfilm who shot it, and I hope that they don't get in trouble, because I imagine that they probably will.
The Jedi Code is like an itch. He cannot help it.
I love that line. All right, so StarWars.com has an article out. This came out after, however, a video of one Ewan McGregor announcing that Obi-Wan Kenobi is now going to premiere on May 27th. We'll soon say, according to StarWars.com, hello there to Obi-Wan Kenobi a little later than expected, but with a bonus surprise. Ewan McGregor, star of Disney Plus's limited series, announced today that Obi-Wan Kenobi will now premiere on Friday, May 27th, instead of Wednesday, May 25th. But instead of just one episode, fans will be treated to the first 2 installments at launch, with subsequent episodes debuting every Wednesday. The story begins 10 years after the dramatic events of Star Wars Revenge of the Sith, in which Obi-Wan Kenobi faced his greatest defeat, the downfall and corruption of his best friend, the Jedi apprentice, Anakin Skywalker, who turned to the dark side to become the evil Sith Lord Darth Vader. All right, so I believe... well, initially, and I still do believe this, I believed that this was all about Star Wars Celebration. You probably heard me whine about it on a previous episode that I'm very hurt. I'm very sad because we were all planning on going to my family. I had my whole vacation planned for Star Wars Celebration before that stupid thing affected and upended all of our lives. Relatively speaking, I know it's been awful. That being said, I can't afford to go and do Celebration this year, but this is the one that I would have anyway. So, the move to Friday, I think, has everything to do with Star Wars Celebration, which actually kicks off on Thursday. It makes more sense to have it on that Wednesday because that is the anniversary of A New Hope, and that again, I think it's the 45th anniversary, right? That made the most sense, but. Seeing that Celebration is taking place, and we're probably going to get a lot of... I'm anticipating a lot of announcements from Star Wars Celebration. I just feel like it has been far too long since we have had any major news solidified since that big to-do that they had on TV with the Disney Plus app, where they had the big Star Wars section. They announced all these projects, and a lot of which we haven't heard from since, including Rogue Squadron, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. I feel like we're due for a lot of movie news, and I think they moved it to Friday because they're probably going to make those announcements on Thursday. They want to give them a little bit of time to breathe, and then they'll, everybody can debut and watch Obi-Wan Kenobi Friday. However, there is another wrinkle to this whole thing. Steven Stanton, who is the voice of many Star Wars characters in a lot of the animated series, he tweeted out and then deleted it, and then reposted it without the celebration part. Okay, so what am I talking about? Well, Steven Stanton was talking about Star Wars Celebration, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he tweeted, "Will you be watching at home at Celebration or ? Now, a lot of people, and I think there's reason for this, had immediately latched on to the Celebration part, right? Are you going to be watching at home at Celebration? We know that Star Wars Celebration in the past has debuted episodes of certain upcoming shows prior to their release to the general public. And it would make sense that they would debut these first 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi, say, on the Thursday before the actual release on Friday. Now, I also think that Steven Stanton could have just been commenting on the fact that a lot of Star Wars fans will be at Celebration. And therefore, you wouldn't be at home watching it. You would be at, doing that thing with my fingers, Celebration, or perhaps in your hotel room at Celebration. So, I think it can mean that as well. It is interesting that he deleted the tweet and reposted it and took the Celebration part off of it. I don't see any reason to delete that unless you didn't want to cause the controversy. And what I mean by that is, mentioning that the potential of Obi-Wan Kenobi showing at Celebration is not a bad thing. He would know if it was, I think. I would imagine he might know if it was. So all it would do is prompt individuals to buy what remaining tickets were left, and knowing that they're going to get an early crack for the sake of argument at Obi-Wan Kenobi. It doesn't really spoil anything. So I feel like he more deleted the Celebration part of it and reposted it because it was causing confusion, and maybe he doesn't know whether or not it's going to debut there. I think the more interesting part of the post was that he said, "Will you be watching at home at Celebration or ... So let's assume for a moment that Steven Stanton knows that it is going to be playing at Celebration. If he knows it's going to be playing at Celebration, he obviously has the inside track. Why would he write or? Here's my speculation. I'm curious if they're going to make these first 2 episodes available to go to the theater to see in select cities. And here's why this makes sense to me. They obviously want to drive subscriptions, okay? But if they show the first 2 episodes on the big screen, let's say they have a tremendous amount of confidence in this series. They know they have something great on their hands. They know how highly anticipated the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is. I mean, it's arguably, one of the, if not the most wanted in terms of live action content of the fans. And it has been for a long time. First, it was the movie, the potential for that, and then, of course, the series. If they've got that much confidence in it, and let's say that the episodes are running some 45 minutes long, so you've got basically about an hour and a half's worth of footage, and those first 2 episodes are solid, and they can put them together to make it feel like a film, why not allow people to go see it on the big screen? Those that want to watch it at home can watch it at home. If someone doesn't have a Disney Plus subscription and they want to go and see it, they can go and see it in the theater, which could bring in new subscriptions for those who want to see what happens next. Plus, I think it would also be a very interesting little experiment for Disney to find out what kind of demand there is and what kind of audience and what kind of crowd can they bring out to the movie theater to see live action content on the big screen. I would not be at all surprised if that ends up being a part of this. That one of the reasons why they ended up moving Obi-Wan Kenobi to Friday was because of Celebration and what they have planned. There's also quite a few other live-action shows that are debuting that week. I think Ms. Marvel might be debuting that week, and I believe that Stranger Things Season 4 debuts on that Friday, too, which is weird. But to release 2 episodes of what we think is a 5 or 6 episode series is, kind of like, okay. There was some speculation that they wanted the series to end earlier because of other streaming shows that they have coming. But I also think, like I said, that there's a big possibility that Steven Stanton knows, and that's why he put, will you be watching at home at Celebration, or because Disney plans on putting it out on the big screen for those that want to go to see it. And that would be a tough call for me. I'm not going to Celebration. And I know, like, at the end of the day, I'll probably sit back and go, oh, I'll watch it at home. But having the opportunity to see brand new Star Wars on the big screen would be really, really hard for this fan to pass up. I imagine that we'll know in fairly short order whether or not that is the case. But what do you think? Leave a comment up on YouTube, or you can email me, talkshownerd@gmail.com.
Jedi cannot help what they are. Their compassion leaves a trail.
Entertainment Weekly, which is releasing its last printed issue, has just released more bits from their interview with Hayden Christensen, says and writes Star Wars News Net. The magazine also chats with McGregor, Moses Ingram, series writer Joby Harold, series director Deborah Chow, and Kathleen Kennedy. What we're going to focus on in this episode is the Hayden Christensen part of it. When asked what it felt like putting the suit back on, Hayden Christensen said, well, without getting into too much detail, it was amazing. It's a great honor to get to put that suit on. He went on to describe how his role in Obi-Wan Kenobi is a natural continuation of his journey from Revenge of the Sith. It was mostly a lot of excitement because I had spent enough time with this character and felt like I knew him, and coming back to it felt very natural in a lot of ways. And I was just really excited to come in and play Darth Vader at this point in the timeline because it did feel like a natural continuation of your journey with the character, and that was very meaningful for me. He was then asked about coming back to the role in the Star Wars franchise as a whole 17 years later. So the whole experience was very surreal, just the nature of coming back after all this time. It's such a unique opportunity, one that both Ewan and I were very grateful for. One of the things I love so much about working on Star Wars projects is just the shared excitement, that everyone's real excited to be there. You feel that energy. That's a really special thing. He went on to say, I don't know what I can share in terms of behind-the-scenes type stuff because I don't think they want me saying too much. But I can tell you, the first time that I saw Ewan as Obi-Wan again, that was a very special moment for me, and one that I'll remember for a very long time. The article wraps up saying, we'll certainly be hearing more from Hayden Christensen as the marketing wraps up. Wouldn't it be a treat if he and Ewan did press rounds together? Fans can dream. 2 months away from the release of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series coming to Disney Plus on now May 27th. And you wonder if there's flashbacks, or I wonder, I don't know if you wonder, but I wonder if there are flashbacks to Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars. You wonder if those were some of the first scenes that they shot together, or if it was actually Hayden Christensen in the suit. And I wonder how they're going to be handling that as well. Hayden Christensen isn't big enough, essentially, to be Darth Vader in terms of the size that he was certainly in the original trilogy. What's fascinating, though, interesting tidbit. If you watch the, I think it was the Behind the Helmet documentary. There's a couple documentaries where you can see Hayden Christensen actually in the suit because he's in the suit at the end of Revenge of the Sith. But what's funny is that if you watch those documentaries of Hayden in the suit, there is one particular piece of footage where the helmet is off. Just the cowl part underneath, the top part of the helmet's off, so you can see Hayden Christensen's head. Like, his eyes... He's essentially, his head, to make him look bigger, I'm pretty sure that his eyes would have to be looking through the triangle mouth portion of the Vader mask. If you look to see where his head is set inside of where the cowl comes up, because they needed to make him look bigger. And I'm fairly certain there will be another individual at some point in the suit. I think if they have Hayden Christensen in the suit, I think they will, for one. I don't. Again, imagine it'll be for all the scenes, but for some of the scenes. And I do think that we'll probably see a suited Vader with the top part of his helmet off. As I've mentioned in previous shows, we know that Vader can live without the helmet on. I mean, Anakin was alive before the Vader suit went on him, even though it helps him afterwards. And there was that shot from The Empire Strikes Back where he's sitting in his chambers and the helmet isn't, it doesn't have it on. It comes back and lowers onto his head. But again, just interesting to hear from Hayden Christensen. It's good to hear from Hayden Christensen after all the unfortunate grief that he took after playing Anakin Skywalker, and not so much for Revenge of the Sith, but certainly Attack of the Clones. It's always good to see how well how much he is now embraced by the fandom and welcome back. And I think I speak for everybody when I say I can't wait to see what this show has to offer. All right, one more news item to share with you.
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
Donald Glover talks about upcoming Lando series. I pulled this version of the story from Bespin Bulletin. Back in December of 2020, Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy announced a slew of Disney Plus Star Wars projects at Disney Investors Day, and one of those projects was Lando, a miniseries focusing on Lando Calrissian, which was being written by Dear White People creator Justin Simeon. However, since the announcement 15 months ago, word on the series has been near dead silent. Donald Glover, who previously played Calrissian in Solo, a Star Wars story, appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live to promote the third season of his series, Atlanta. And as you'd expect, Star Wars was brought up. While speaking about a poster for Atlanta, Kimmel randomly blurts out, "You're working on a new Lando project for Disney Plus," which Glover laughs at and responds, "Am I? Just telling my business," before following up saying, "No, yeah, I have a lot of things. I like to blossom, then go away. Right now is definitely the start of another one of those. I have a ton of stuff I've been working on, but I just want it all to come out at the same time, so I feel like that's what's important." Glover's involvement in Lando seems like a no-brainer and has become an expectation for fans. But Glover nor Lucasfilm have ever acknowledged his attachment to the series. Glover's response seems quite telling as he laughs and jokes throughout, but doesn't deny any involvement and instead quips, "Just telling all my business." Glover's comments on the start of a blossom makes me feel as if we're going to hear more about these series somewhat soon, and I wouldn't rule out an update at Celebration in just a couple of months. And again, I think this is I don't think that this is coincidence. These interviews they set up beforehand on these late night talk shows. So they sit down and do a run through, and they know what questions are going to be asked. So I'm confident that Jimmy Kimmel knows he could ask a Star Wars question. I'm confident that we're going to get an update at Celebration, and I'm confident that this was all just a part of building the hype up. The Bespin Bulletin article goes on to say, "I personally was having doubts on the Lando series coming to fruition, given Glover's schedule. Currently, he's on a promotional tour for Atlanta and will be once again in the fall for its fourth season. But he's also writing multiple shows for Amazon Prime Video, including a new adaptation of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Hive, which focuses on a Beyonce-like figure, and he's currently already in production on an unknown series which stars Dominique Fishback from Judas and the Black Messiah." So Glover has also confirmed he's working on a new album, so he's quite busy for the next foreseeable future. And yeah, my expectation is we have the next few years of Star Wars locked down for the most part, unless they can get something done quick enough for a 2023 release. But I would expect probably another season of the Book of Boba Fett based off of how of the reception, right? The streaming reception of Book of Boba Fett was. We know Ahsoka will be coming in 2023. Probably, maybe. Well, and Mandalorian may roll into 2023 at the end of the year. So I think that's a possibility. Season 3 of that show is a possibility as well. So maybe something at the end of 2023. But if not, I think you could even plan on a 2024 debut for the Lando series. My question is, where is it going to land in the timeline? Are we going to be moving forward from the events of Solo? Right? What would be interesting to me is, can we get a Lando show that's set in the original trilogy, kind of rolling into it? Like, what was Lando doing during the events of the original trilogy? Or will this be a Lando show that serves actually as a prequel for Solo? And I'll have to put some thought on that. What do you think? Assuming we're going to get this Donald Glover Lando show, it's a younger Lando, obviously, so it'll be something that would be, I would imagine, centered around before A New Hope. Before A New Hope or inside of the original trilogy. So when do you think it'll happen? You think it'd be before the events of Solo or after the events of Solo? Drop a comment up on YouTube or feel free to drop me an email. TalkShowNerd@gmail.com. Sorry, I had a bit of a brain freeze there for a moment.
This is not going to go the way you think.
All right, quick comment before we get into listener feedback this week. I watched the new trailer a couple of times, actually, for Top Gun Maverick, the sequel to Top Gun, in case you didn't know. That's been on hold since the start of that horrible, awful thing that I mentioned at the start of the show. But watching the new trailer for Top Gun Maverick has me excited for the possibility of Rogue Squadron, even if we have no idea when it's going to happen. The Rogue Squadron, right, was supposed to be coming out at the end of last year, and then we were told that it was put on pause. I think we got official word that it was put on delay, right? I believe we got an official word of that. Patty Jenkins was supposed to be working on Cleopatra, and then another director took over for Cleopatra, and then there was news that there was actually some difficulties in getting it off the ground, or maybe something with the script. So I have no idea what's going on with Rogue Squadron. Perhaps we will also find that out at Celebration. But watching that new trailer for Top Gun Maverick really has me excited for it. The idea of a movie about fighter pilots. There's just a couple of shots of the younger pilots getting into their jets, and I just was like, oh my gosh, if we got something Star Wars that had the same type of vibe and feel as these fighter jet pilots getting into their machines, I mean, I could definitely go for something like that, especially if it was stylized like that, right? The story, Rogue Squadron, is obviously good enough. If they went so far in to make an announcement of it, it does make me wonder, too, the more I thought about it, especially when I was putting together the show this week, it does make me wonder, too, if this is something original trilogy era, and not as I had speculated based off of Kathleen Kennedy's comments that this could possibly be. She alluded to it being a post The Rise of Skywalker film. I only say it makes me wonder if this is something original trilogy era because of that success that they had with Rogue One. Obviously, the success of Rogue One is giving us the Andor show on Disney Plus, but Rogue One was such a success, and the fact that that Disney, as of yet, has not attempted to give us a completely outside movie again, because Solo was still kind of with characters that existed already that we knew, and so Rogue One was kind of something fresh and new, even though it took place just prior to the events of the original trilogy. Kathleen Kennedy was certainly on board, and that gets me thinking that maybe the graphic for Rogue Squadron was correct all along in them using an original T-65 original trilogy in a T-65 original trilogy era X-Wing fighter that was in the logo design, and perhaps this movie would have been something that fit inside the original trilogy. That makes me wonder. Again, I want something post Return of the Jedi, but I also, just like a lot of people, really loved Rogue One, and if they could tell a story that coincided with the events of the original trilogy and Rogue Squadron, while providing further context for things that we've seen in the original trilogy, of which there are plenty of different opportunities, I certainly would be down for that as well. So, again, TalkShowNerd@gmail.com if you want to share your thoughts on that. That trailer, by the way, just side note, the trailer for Top Gun Maverick looks fantastic. I'm glad that's coming out in May, too, oddly enough.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
All right, let's dive into your listener feedback this week. First, we'll start with Kelly Langley, who writes, I have this theory that the dyad will be reunited once Rey becomes one with the Force. They'll see each other again. It's like that line from Princess Bride. Death cannot stop true love. All it can do is delay it for a while. And Ben wants Rey to live a full and happy life, even if he can't be there to experience it with her. He's waiting for her so they can be together in the Force once again. Interesting theory. What I wonder is, to kind of spin off of that, what I wonder is, there is a rabid fan base when it comes to Reylo. There's no doubt about that. And I can't imagine Disney not wanting to tap into that somehow. If they could get the principal players on board, right? If they could get, you really would have to. You'd have to get Adam Driver and Daisy Ridley. I don't doubt that you could get Daisy Ridley on board. I think Adam Driver is a different ball game, but at the same time, I know that he's alluded to the fact that he would, perhaps be up for something like that. I don't remember where that was, but I remember him saying as much. But considering the rabid fan base around Reylo, I have a hard time thinking and believing that Disney and Lucasfilm would just let that go and not want to tap into that. I mean, there's a fan base just waiting, myself included, to see something like that. All right, let's get into more listener feedback. Thank you for that. I really do appreciate that, Kelly. All right, friend of the show, Howard Kemple Jr. Writes, and I have not heard from him in a while. And as a matter of fact, I actually missed this on listener feedback for last week. Let's see. He makes a personal comment because I interacted with him on Facebook recently. But he says, as I'm writing this, I'm not yet caught up on the podcast, but I just wanted to share a thought I had as a kid way back in the late 70s after I got my first Star Wars action figure, Obi-Wan Kenobi. What if Obi-Wan is really a clone and Obi-Wan is his designation? He talked about fighting in the Clone Wars, plus all the figure cards back then had phonetic spellings for the droids. I thought, if he's a clone from the Clone Wars, his name is Obi-Wan. One of those random thoughts that come back to us as adults decades later. Very respectfully, Howard Kemple. It is an interesting theory, and I personally, I don't think that's the case, right? I don't think Lucas knew back when he was making A New Hope that he was going to be a clone. And I think if anybody went and found that out now with all the hype around and the demand for Obi-Wan Kenobi, I can't imagine that the fans would be very down for that. But I do appreciate the callback to when you were a kid. I have quite a few of those as well. Romaine Charvet writes, I saw The Force Awakens in theaters when I was 12 up until The Rise of Skywalker at 16. So I grew up with these ones. The prequels were my childhood, but I find the sequels so true when it comes to show the very human nature of things. I'd say that 7 might be the weakest of the 3, but 8 and 9 focusing on the dyad stuff just blew me away and still does. The sequel trilogy has a much higher level of quality than the blockbusters of the last 10 to 15 years, in my opinion. Nice, Romaine. At a time when we are sickly looking and everybody approaches almost everything with cynicism, this trilogy stands out like a sore thumb, as much by the incredible freedom that Rian Johnson and JJ have enjoyed, as well as by the enchanting magic that Star Wars still manages to give off. The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker mean everything to me, dealing with important topics such as failure, trauma for 8, and spirituality, fellowship for 9. Great comment, Romaine. And there's quite a bit of listener feedback that I'm not including on the show this week. If you would like to know what I'm talking about, head on over to My Nerd World on YouTube and look at the listener feedback from last week's episode. I'll just leave it at that. Romaine, though, that was great. And I, too, love those films. And I'm 49 years old, and I saw the original Star Wars when I was 5 in theaters, and I completely agree with your assessment. All 3 trilogies are different, and they all offer different things. And I think for a lot of people, they wanted that feeling that they got in the original trilogy. And we got that in a large part when it comes to The Mandalorian. But I have always been, and I've always said, that I'm completely fine with the sequel trilogy feeling different from the original trilogy, and those two feeling different from the prequels, and the prequels feeling different to those. All right, and lastly this week, we'll hear from a friend of the show, Miranda. I think we can all be solidified in agreement that the sequel trilogy became something that people are just never going to stop talking about. Nope. For many years to come. And still ruminate on it quite a bit, and a lot of times a lot of people have been acting like a bunch of jerks about it. It has become both polarizing and unforgettable all at once. It's been analyzed or nitpicked to the tooth. People have formed cults around it and alliances over it and had movements. There has never been another trilogy in this time that has quite the response as it has given people, and how it continues to have an effect on other films and TV too, even after almost 3 years since the end of its run. The impact is still felt. Not even 89% of Marvel movies have given this lasting effect and impact on audiences, aside from the dollars it collects at the box office and opening weekends. No joke there again. Listen, and I agree with that. I love the sequel trilogy. The Rise of Skywalker continues to currently be my favorite Star Wars film. And that's probably, when I mentioned starting the show this week of wanting to watch Star Wars, I'll probably end up watching The Rise of Skywalker. And I won't go into everything that I said previously. I put up a whole video about this recently just because I felt like talking about The Rise of Skywalker again, because I just really do truly love that movie. It's different from the other two, but in a bunch of really, really great ways. And if you are listening to the show for the first time, I hope you'll go back an episode or two and take a listen. I did 2 recent Rise of Skywalker podcasts and shows, one based on Reylo specifically, and the other one just about how I believe that The Rise of Skywalker will be called a classic one day. Speaking of you new listeners to the show, don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for everybody for checking out the show. But if you want to support My Nerd World and a Star Wars podcast, and you are a reader, I hope, or you know somebody in your family that's a reader, or you have children that are readers, I hope you'll check out my EMBARK science fiction space opera series. I wrote this because of my love of Star Wars and wanting to create a world of my own like George Lucas did. And it has turned in from 1 book that I started, EMBARK Book 1, to now 7 books. I'm currently in the process of finishing up the final edit on Book 7, Battle Planet, which I hope to have out this month before I send it off to my editor. And I hope to have that editing job done this week. And I actually stopped editing so I can come down here and record the show. So I hope you'll go and pick up your preferred copy of the series, starting with Book 1, EMBARK, Book 2, Treasure in Darkness, Book 3, The Vanishing War. That makes up a complete story arc and trilogy and is available in a discounted ebook box set. You can pick up Book 1 right now in ebook for just 99 cents. Then you have Gahan Corbijn and the Asteroid of Misfortune, which is a spin-off book, but it is Book 4 in the timeline of EMBARK and sets up the next trilogy, which starts with Book 5, The Rocket Queen, leading into Book 6, Fear the Dangerous Night. And then, like I said, Book 7, Battle Planet, which comes out later this month. All available in ebook, paperback, hardcover, and audiobook for all 6 books that are available right now. You can go to mynerdworld.net or just go right to Amazon.com and look for EMBARK and Jon Justice. You'll find them there. And it would be, okay, pick yourself up a copy, especially Book 1. Like I said, I've got it discounted right now for 99 cents. Probably going to leave it that way for a little while. Normally, they run $2.99 each. So right now, I have Book 1 for 99 cents. So go grab yourself or gift it to a friend. For those that are wondering, hey, that's great, John, but what is it about? Well, Book 1 is about this. Keitha's father passed away 1 year ago. Yesterday, he gave her the key to saving humanity. She just doesn't know it yet. When Keitha Morrow uncovers a cryptic message left behind by her late aerospace engineer father, with the help of fellow pilot Taft Guardia, she makes a shocking discovery. Her excitement quickly turns to fear when they learn that an industrial accident inside the largest civilian and military spacecraft factory has set off an apocalyptic chain of events. As war erupts during the global evacuation, Keitha realizes the significance of what she's found, and so does the enemy. Interstellar travel isn't what she imagined, as Keitha and Taft are being hunted for the power in their possession. While Earth's evacuees stand upon the brink of annihilation, Keitha faces her destiny. It might be humanity's greatest hope for survival among the stars. So I hope you pick up a copy. I'd really appreciate it, and I think you'll really enjoy them too. Again, they're suitable for kids as young as 11, but they're written for adults. In terms of the content, just think about what you get in Star Wars, and that's all you need to know. Thank you so much for checking the show out this week. We'll be back again next week for another episode. Until then, I hope wherever you are happy, you are healthy, and you are safe, and I'll talk to you again real soon. Bye.
The Force will be with you, always.
My nerd world.